What if I told you that everything you know about death is incomplete? That on the ocean floor right now, at this very moment, a creature the size of a pinhead is rewriting the rules of mortality itself. You are looking at the only animal on Earth that has discovered how to cheat the end. This is not legend, this is not theory, this is Turritopsis dohrnii, and it cannot die. We live our entire lives governed by a single unbreakable law: birth, growth, decay, death. Every cell in your body is running out a clock you cannot reset. Every heartbeat is one less heartbeat remaining. Every breath is borrowed time. We understand this. We accept this. We build our entire civilizations around the certainty that what begins must end. But nature does not always obey the rules we write for it. Somewhere in the cold, dark waters off the coast of Japan, in the Mediterranean Sea, in the Caribbean depths, floats a creature so small you could hold a dozen of them on your fingertip. Translucent, fragile, almost invisible against the moving currents. It pulses gently through the water, trailing delicate tentacles behind it like silk threads in the wind. Its body glows faintly in the darkness, a living ghost drifting through an alien world. It looks like nothing. It moves like a whisper. And it has solved the one problem that has haunted every living thing since life began. It has learned how to go backward. Turritopsis dohrnii is commonly called the immortal jellyfish, though that name barely scratches the surface of what this organism actually does. It does not simply live longer than other creatures. It does not slow its aging or repair damage more efficiently. It does something far stranger, far more impossible. When faced with death, whether from starvation, injury, disease, or old age, it refuses to accept the ending. Instead, it transforms. It collapses inward. It regresses. It returns to the beginning and starts over. Imagine this. You are 70 years old. Your body is failing. Your cells are worn. The machinery of life is grinding to a halt. And then, instead of dying, you begin to shrink. Your limbs retract. Your bones soften. Your memories dissolve. You become a teenager, then a child, then an infant, and finally, a single fertilized cell clinging to the ocean floor, waiting to grow up again. That is what this jellyfish does. That is the power it holds. The process is called transdifferentiation, and it violates almost everything we thought we understood about cellular development. In every animal we have ever studied, cells follow a one-way path. A skin cell is a skin cell forever. A nerve cell is locked into being a nerve cell. A muscle cell cannot decide one day to become something else. This is differentiation, the fundamental principle of complex life. Cells specialize, they commit, they lose the ability to go backward. Except in Turritopsis dohrnii. When this jellyfish is injured, when it is starving, when it senses that its time is running out, it sinks to the ocean floor and attaches itself to a rock or a piece of coral. Its bell-shaped body begins to collapse. Its tentacles are reabsorbed into its tissue. The distinct jellyfish form, what biologists call the Medusa stage, dissolves away entirely. What remains is a shapeless blob of cells called a cyst. And inside that cyst, something extraordinary happens. The cells forget what they were. Muscle cells shed their identity. Nerve cells unlearn their function. Reproductive cells abandon their programming. And then, in a cascade of genetic reprogramming that scientists are only beginning to understand, these cells transform into entirely different cell types. Muscle becomes nerve. Nerve becomes stem cell. The specialized becomes unspecialized. The mature becomes embryonic. The jellyfish, in essence, performs a biological reset, returning itself to a polyp, the juvenile stage from which all jellyfish begin, and then it grows up again. This is not rejuvenation, this is not healing, this is something far more profound. The jellyfish is not repairing its old body, it is building a completely new one from the raw material of the old. It is dying and being reborn in the same continuous existence, and it can do this over and over and over again, theoretically forever. The implications are staggering. In laboratories around the world, researchers have watched Turritopsis dohrnii complete this cycle multiple times in controlled environments. They have stressed the jellyfish, starved it, injured it, and every time when death seemed certain, the creature simply reversed course. One study documented a single jellyfish undergoing this transformation 10 times in 2 years, 10 deaths, 10 rebirths, and at the end it was still alive, still capable of doing it again. There is no observed limit, no point at which the process fails, no final death that cannot be undone. The jellyfish, as far as we can determine, is biologically immortal. But here is where the story grows darker, more complicated. Biological immortality does not mean invincibility. Turritopsis dohrnii is still incredibly fragile. It can be eaten, it can be torn apart by currents, it can be killed by pollution, by temperature changes, by any of the 1,000 random dangers that exist in the ocean. Its immortality only protects it from one thing, the internal decay of aging. It cannot be killed by time, but it can absolutely be killed by the world. And this is the cruel irony. The creature that has conquered death is still surrounded by it. So how did this happen? How did one species among the millions that have evolved on this planet stumble upon the secret of eternal life? The answer lies in the jellyfish's genome, though even that is not fully understood. Scientists have sequenced the DNA of Turritopsis dohrnii and found something unusual. The jellyfish possesses multiple copies of certain genes involved in DNA repair, cellular maintenance, and something called pluripotency, the ability of a cell to become any other type of cell. These genes are highly active during the transdifferentiation process. They are the biological machinery that allows the impossible transformation to occur. But many animals have these genes. Humans have them. Mice have them. Every complex organism needs them during embryonic development. What makes Turritopsis dohrnii different is that it has kept these genes accessible and active throughout its entire life. Where our cells lock away the potential for transformation as we mature, the jellyfish keeps the door open. It retains the flexibility of youth, even in old age. This is not magic. This is not supernatural. This is simply a different strategy for survival, one that evolution stumbled upon in the depths of the ocean and never bothered to replicate elsewhere. Or perhaps it did, and those creatures simply did not survive. Because here is the uncomfortable truth about immortality. It is not necessarily an advantage. In a stable environment, living forever might seem beneficial, but nature is not stable. Nature is violent, chaotic, and constantly changing. Species that reproduce quickly, that die young and pass on their genes to the next generation are often better equipped to adapt to sudden shifts in climate, food availability, or predator pressure. They evolve faster, they respond faster, they survive when the old and unchanging do not. Turritopsis dohrnii may have conquered death, but it has also trapped itself in a kind of biological stasis. Every time it resets, it loses the experiences and adaptations it gained in its previous life. It starts over with the same genetic blueprint, unable to pass on learned behaviors or accumulated resilience. It is immortal, yes, but it is also locked in an endless loop, forever young, forever starting from zero. Perhaps that is why immortality is so rare. Perhaps evolution tried it, tested it, and found it wanting. And yet we cannot help but wonder, if this jellyfish can do it, why cannot we? The question haunts researchers in the fields of regenerative medicine, gerontology, and cellular biology. Human beings have spent millennia searching for the fountain of youth, the philosopher's stone, the secret to eternal life. We have written myths about it, gone to war over it, poured fortunes into alchemical experiments, and now, in the 21st century, into genetic research. And here, floating in the ocean, is an animal that has already achieved what we are desperately trying to understand. Could we replicate it? The answer is complicated. Human cells do possess the genetic potential for transdifferentiation. In fact, scientists have already accomplished something similar in laboratories. Using a set of proteins called Yamanaka factors, researchers have successfully reprogrammed adult human cells back into induced pluripotent stem cells, cells that can theoretically become any other cell type. This discovery earned a Nobel Prize in 2012. It proved that cellular identity is not as permanent as we once believed. But turning back a single cell in a petri dish is not the same as reversing the aging of an entire organism. The human body is unimaginably complex. We have 37 trillion cells, all of them specialized, all of them interconnected, all of them depending on each other to maintain the delicate balance we call life. To reset all of them simultaneously, to coordinate a controlled regression of every tissue, every organ, every system without causing catastrophic failure, that is a challenge so monumental it borders on the impossible. And even if we could do it, even if we developed the technology to reverse our cellular age, we would face another problem: our brains. The jellyfish does not have a brain. Its nervous system is a simple network of neurons scattered throughout its body. When it resets, it loses nothing of value: no memories, no personality, no sense of self. But human consciousness is different. Our identity is stored in the precise configuration of billions of neurons, in the specific patterns of synaptic connections that form over a lifetime of experience. If we were to regress those cells, to erase their specialization and revert them to an embryonic state, we would not simply become young again, we would become someone else, or perhaps no one at all. The price of biological immortality for a human being might be the loss of everything that makes us human. This is the paradox. The thing we want most, eternal life, may be incompatible with the thing we value most, our sense of self. We could live forever, but we would not remember why we wanted to. Still, the research continues. Scientists are studying Turritopsis dohrnii intensively, hoping to unlock the mechanisms that allow it to perform its impossible transformation. They are looking for ways to activate similar pathways in human cells, to reverse aging at the cellular level without triggering cancer or losing cognitive function. Some believe we could extend human lifespan dramatically within the next few decades. Others think we might even achieve a form of biological immortality, not through full-body regression like the jellyfish, but through targeted cellular repair and regeneration. But even if we succeed, even if we crack the code and live for centuries or millennia, we will still face the same existential questions that have plagued humanity since the beginning. What is the purpose of a life without end? What does it mean to exist when existence has no deadline? How do we find meaning in a story that never concludes? The jellyfish does not think about these things. It does not ponder its existence or question its purpose. It simply is. It lives, it resets, it lives again. An endless cycle with no awareness of the miracle it embodies. But we are not jellyfish. We are creatures of narrative. We understand our lives as stories with beginnings, middles, and ends. We find meaning in the arc, in the journey from birth to death. The finality of our existence is what gives our choices weight, our moments significance, our connections depth. We love because we know loss. We strive because we know time is limited. We cherish because we understand that nothing lasts forever. Remove death from the equation, and you may also remove meaning. Perhaps that is the real lesson of Turritopsis dohrnii. Not that immortality is possible, but that mortality is precious. That the very thing we fear most, the ending of our existence, is also the thing that makes existence worth experiencing. The jellyfish can live forever, but it will never know the bittersweet beauty of a finite life. It will never feel the urgency of a ticking clock or the gratitude for one more day. It has conquered death, but it will never understand life the way we do. Right now, as you read these words, millions of these tiny jellyfish are drifting through the world's oceans. They are pulsing through coral reefs, floating in the deep trenches, clinging to rocks in the shallows. They are dying and being reborn over and over in a cycle that may have been repeating for millions of years. They are ghosts in the water, immortal and invisible, carrying a secret that could change everything we know about biology, aging, and the nature of existence itself. And yet most of us will live our entire lives without ever seeing one. They are out there. They have always been out there, silent witnesses to the passage of time, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of species. They were here before us. They will be here after us, unchanging, eternal, indifferent. We call them the immortal jellyfish, but maybe that is not quite right. Maybe they are not immortal at all. Maybe they are simply trapped, locked in an endless loop of life and rebirth, unable to move forward, unable to evolve, unable to die. Maybe what we envy is not a gift, but a curse. Or maybe they have simply found a different answer to the same question we are all asking. How do you make peace with the fact that you will not last forever? For us, the answer is acceptance, connection, legacy. We pass on our knowledge to the next generation. We create art that outlives us. We love people who will remember us when we are gone. We find ways to transcend our own mortality without actually living forever. And in a universe governed by entropy, by decay, by the slow, inevitable winding down of all things, that refusal is the most defiant act imaginable. It is a middle finger to the second law of thermodynamics. It is a whisper in the darkness that says, not yet, not today, not ever. The jellyfish cannot know what it has achieved. It cannot understand that it has broken a rule that every other living thing must follow. It just exists, transparent and fragile, drifting through the black water, resetting itself whenever the end draws near. And maybe that is enough. Maybe immortality is not about living forever. Maybe it is about choosing again and again to begin again, to take the broken pieces of what you were and build something new, to refuse the ending even when the ending seems inevitable. We cannot do what Turritopsis dohrnii does, not yet, maybe not ever. Our bodies are too complex, our minds too fragile, our sense of self too dependent on the continuity of experience. We are bound by time in ways the jellyfish is not. But we can learn from it, we can study it, we can wonder at it, and in that wonder, in that pursuit of understanding, we touch something eternal, not in our bodies, but in our curiosity, in our refusal to accept the limits of what is possible, in our stubborn, beautiful human insistence that there must be more. The biggest lie about death is not that it is the end. The biggest lie is that it is the only option. Somewhere in the depths of the ocean, a creature the size of a pinhead has proven that wrong. And even if we never unlock its secret, even if biological immortality remains forever out of reach for humanity, we can take comfort in knowing that the universe is stranger than we imagined, that the rules are not as fixed as we believed, that life in all its forms is more resilient, more creative, and more miraculous than we ever dared to hope. The jellyfish will reset again tonight, and tomorrow night, and the night after that. It will keep resetting long after you and I are gone, long after everyone we have ever known has returned to the earth. It will drift through the darkness, glowing faintly, pulsing gently, living and dying, and living again in an endless cycle that may never stop. And somewhere in that cycle, in that impossible act of cellular rebellion, is a truth we are only beginning to understand. That death is not a law, it is a choice that every living thing makes, consciously or not, every single day. Except one. What will you do with the time you have been given?